start with breaking news from one of those playoff teams. You see, of course, the latest from Christian Watson with Green Bay. He tore his ACL in the loss against the Bears Sunday. Just devastating news to see. Of course, he is expected to undergo more tests to determine if any other damage, but this means he will not be available for the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. We're all getting set here as we welcome you into NFL Live. We're going to make sure we can get Ryan's mic on, but Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kimes are all here with us as we react to the latest news. Man, I wish I could say that, this is just going off without a hitch, but right now, Ryan's still trying to get mic'd up. I think Swag's ready to go. Okay. Let's talk about this, you guys. Yeah, it's been so long, apparently. Man. Okay, the reality is there was bad traffic trying to get here from New York for Dan and Marcus. I don't know, Ryan and Mina and I have no excuse, but Mina's ready to go. So actually, I'm going to give you two a little bit more time, and let's get Adam Schefter in here. He's ready to go. Adam, what more do we know about Christian Watson's injury?
Well, Laura, it was a non-contact injury, and the moment you saw him go down, you knew it was going to be bad. And then after the game, Matt LaFleur expressed pessimism about his hopes for a quick return. And then obviously the tests show a torn ACL, and Christian Watson's season, unfortunately, is done. He will begin focusing on 2025. Green Bay will begin focusing on the playoff game this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles and have to turn the Packers' attention to the other receivers they have on the roster. The good part is they're deep at that position, but obviously Christian Watson was a huge, big play threat. He's going to be missed, but they're obviously going to not have him during the rest of this season, and they're hoping to get him back next season.
All right, thanks to Adam for the latest there, and a lot more from Adam throughout the show. As you can see here, Jordan Love and the Packers offense was much more explosive with Watson on the field this year, averaging over 9 air yards per attempt with 31 completions of at least 20 yards. With Watson on the sideline, which is what they're looking at here for the playoff run, Love had just 17 explosive passes, averaged under 8 air yards per attempt. We're going to pretend like whatever we did in the beginning of the show wasn't the real beginning, so now it's the real beginning. Everybody's here. Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears. Dan, I'll start with you. How big of an impact is losing Watson for Green Bay?
Oh, it's huge. I really believe that that's the most impactful perimeter player that they have. Just because he's the vertical threat guy, he's not only the guy that actually makes plays down the field, but he's the person that at least fears or puts the fear in defenses to go make some plays down the field. We're going to get into a lot of the 4-by-1 formation trend that's in the NFL, but he's one of the premier guys that they would put backside just because they could take their shots downfield. So while I do really like their pieces, I just don't think that they have enough vertical speed to really push the ball downfield, specifically against the Philadelphia defense. That's really the only thing you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, and also if you look at one of the plays we saw in the highlight, it was Christian Watson versus Reek Woolen when they played against Seattle, and that was a 4-by-1. You get a flow to the right of the field. They have him man-to-man backside, and you're able to push the ball to the deep part of the field, and you don't do that with these other wide receivers on the Green Bay Packers team. Let's go back to the game we watched against the Minnesota Vikings when Brian Flores employed a ton of man-to-man on third down in coverage, and they couldn't beat that. They didn't have anybody that could win one-on-one or pressure you deep down the field. And so I think that's a huge deal headed into playing against Philadelphia.
Yeah, to your point about the man coverage, it just makes life a lot easier for defensive coordinators. You know this Green Bay rushing attack is the first thing you have to deal with this team. It's one of the best in the NFL. Now, you're a lot less concerned about allocating extra resources towards stopping the run, leaving guys one-on-one on the outside. They still have good receivers. I want to emphasize that. What Watson brought to the table, though, was that downfield separation. And without him, everything just gets a little bit tighter underneath.
Yeah, I think when you look at offenses, though, you try to figure out who are those one or two singular players that we have that we can force defenses to do certain things. And that's what you really alluding to, Dan, is that now we really not dictating anymore because defenses are going to respond completely different when certain guys are off the field. And going to Josh Jacobs, it just creates space. It creates space for him to maneuver inside the box. Sometimes you may have to worry about Watson enough to put a safety over the top of him in certain situations. That way, keeping that guy away from the box. It's a huge deal because we're just talking about production as well. But I think about the red area, which Green Bay is not always highly productive in, which he could be a 50-50 ball.
Now their offense is too side to side.
Side to side.
It's not vertical enough.
That's interesting. So you said you did like some of the other particular skill position, guys, do they have the people that can replace Watson?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe by committee
to
in a way?
replace, no, they don't. They don't have a vertical person. They have Romeo Dobbs, who's really good, Jaden Reed, who's really good. Wicks is a good player, but they don't have anybody that you can sit there and go, hey, you go run a 25-yard deep crossing route or let's go take our shot down the field, and you feel good about it, specifically going against the secondary.
Bro, be real. You have all of the same guy with different levels of talent.
Yeah, I think Dobbs is a little bit more of a one-on-one guy, but not to the go deep like Christian is guy.
Okay, one thing maybe on the positive note here, Watson caught just 2 of 25 of Love's touchdown passes this season, so other guys have stepped up in that way. Lions shut down Sam Darnold and the Vikings in the red zone in this game, as we just saw, something their defense has excelled at all season despite dealing with injuries, of course, as we've documented here. Detroit ranks in the top 3 in completion percentage and total QBR allowed in the red area overall this season. They held Sam Darnold to 2 of 11 passing with a 0.3 QBR on Sunday. My goodness. All right, defensively, and again, we all apologize. I'll eat crow. Should have picked the Lions.
I ain't eating no crow.
I will.
They played out of
bad.
their freaking minds. Congrats to the Lions. We was wrong.
Mina, defensively, the Lions did hold Minnesota in check all night. How did they do it?
Well, this is why we all picked the Vikings, because we thought that the Lions' defense, after watching them struggle against San Francisco, would put up a summer performance. We apparently underestimated that Alex Anzalone is the best defensive player on the planet, and Amik Robertson might be the best hidden secret in football. Those 2 players were phenomenal in that game. I just wanted to mention them at the jump because that was the biggest change. And, oh, my goodness, they played well. But there was some changes in tendencies from Aaron Glenn that I thought were worth spotlighting. This is a defense that has played man coverage at a high rate, amongst the highest in the NFL throughout most of the season. But in this game, typically, they play twice as much cover 1 as cover 2 man, and this one, that flipped. They played cover 2 man over 30% of the time. And, you know, the weakness there on defense is you are leaving yourself vulnerable to the QB run. But the rush, combined with that single coverage on the back end, did a great job of corralling Sam Darnold when they blitzed, making sure they didn't leave rush lanes open for him. So I thought it was a combination of that particular coverage, which is very, very, very well executed on their part, plus the rush not letting Sam Darnold escape.
In those situations, they were green dogging the back the entire game.
Yes.
So it added a person to the rush.
Guess what? 5-man rushes were impactful. Listen, man, I was like, did Brian Flores go over there and coach for Detroit tonight? Watching it. And Aaron Glenn, to your point, Mina, when he changed those tendencies, but the green dog to me is what made the difference. And they had a rush plan.
Marcus, explain that to people too, just because we know what it is.
So a green dog, the linebacker has the running back as a man-to-man cover if the running back leaves and goes out on a route. If he doesn't leave and go out on a route, the linebacker adds to the rush, and it becomes a 5-man rush. And they did a phenomenal job of it last night. But two, like when you look at this game, and I'm gonna pass it off because I'm deviating a little bit. Give their defense credit, but damn the missed opportunities by Sam Darnold.
You see a lot of it.
I don't think it was all just this great play calling on defense or this great coverage on defense.
Completely.
Yeah, I mean, 5 missed touchdowns. But I will say this, it's the best defensive game plan I've seen against Minnesota all season long by Aaron Glenn. And for everybody that wants a head coach, I would interview him off his take, off of it. I thought some of the coverages were outstanding, the doubling the receivers. So Jefferson at the bottom, Addison at the top. RC, it was kind of 2 different ways. Jefferson, they doubled them, but high-low, okay? And up top, it was in and out on Addison. This is that green dog where you guys are talking about with Anzalone dropping and then blitzing. The second thing is, Marcus, I called it braiding the defensive line, where these stunts happen so well, where the outside goes inside, inside goes outside, and that pick guy is really the guy that won. They did an outstanding job on a play-by-play basis of just creating chaos against the pocket and the protection for Sam Darnold, along with tying it to that coverage. The red zone stuff was awesome because in the field they played so much man, in the red zone they played so much pass-off zone. It's man-to-man right now at the bottom of the screen. Motion goes Robertson, sends him. He falls off to that trailing defender that Anzalone has, or Jack.
How is he so good?
Who's my guy?
Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell has, but he has. And then look at this one. So they're playing man-to-man on the outside, guys, but zone pass off in the middle where everybody's got eyes on the quarterback. So they're strapping up everybody in man, but then they have really 2 robbing defenders in the middle of the field and no one getting behind the quarterback in the rush stuff. It was just an unbelievable game plan in those situations. Marcus, you talked about the 5-man rush. Shoot, they 6-man rushed them 13 times. They zeroed them 14 times.
Also, too, for Aaron Glenn, that's paying attention to college football, because the rock between Amik Robinson and Kirby Joseph is something you do for jet motion.
Yes.
And out of that jet motion, Amik is supposed to be the middle of the field middle of the field safety. And so to recognize the naked boot and get out there and help Jack Campbell, that's an amazing play.
We're changing his name to Jack. Who's my guy? Campbell.
Y'all,
Who's my guy?
something real quick.
Really quick.
Yesterday, I'm watching this game, and I felt so terrible because I was like, this the Sam that gave me pause.
Oh, man. No, you're a sympathizer. You can't do this.
I know it.
We'll get to that side.
Yeah, we will. Okay, but let's talk about this Lions offense, because as much as the story of the game is around the defense, the Lions offense did some things well, too.
Yeah, for me, it was Jahmyr Gibbs in the pass game. And I know he had an amazing day running the football, but they felt like Ben Johnson did, that was a matchup they can win. And I felt like they were really intentional about it. Here you're going to see him in empty, and you're going to get a mesh route with Jamison Williams. Blake Cashman is on the coverage. Look at him having to squeeze from the outside and get through the trash. And now this is an impossible tackle to make when someone's so quick, so fluid. He gets out, gets the first down. Now I want you to see them understanding how they're going to use the peel backer in blitzes. We're going to get Metellus from the top of the screen. And so once you get the play action fake to Jahmyr Gibbs, he's now going to leak out on the wheel. It's extremely difficult to cover this because Metellus is thinking, I have an opportunity to add to the rush. Again, it's the speed to the outside. Everyone else is pushed down the field. And to me, this was the play of the day, understanding what you were going to get. You're going to get blitzing linebackers in cover 0 with no one in the middle of the field. Van Ginkel is going to be in charge of Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield, but he has to peel him again. You know, with that sort of speed, you don't want to get beat to the outside. So now you get the angle route, and there's no one in the middle of the field to cover. I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was the essential piece to this offense last night, and Ben Johnson used him perfectly.
How many people in the draft are going to be like, any Jahmyr Gibbs out there? Like, every time you see him play, you think that